everyone, welcome back to another Superhero Rewind commentary. Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me again is TheDayGhost. Hello, Austin.
Hello, Cap. Today we're versing each other.
It's Cap versus Austin. And
Yes.
by versing each other, what Austin really means is that we're gonna fight for a couple of minutes over a misunderstanding and then be friends through the rest of it and work together.
Yeah, no, Cap's gonna beat me up for like 3 minutes. Like Jason's gonna hold my arms behind my back while Cap punches me. And
It
then
will be the
we'll be
reason you
friends.
showed up, and then hopefully by the end of it, you somehow won't care because the rest of it will still be really entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Today we're going to tackle Batman versus Ninja Turtles. This is, of course, based on the comic series, not by the same name. I think these animated movies very often feel the need to just throw verses in because they think that it will sell copies. Maybe it did. Maybe it sold an extra 500,000 of the, 3.1 million that they sold of these things just because it has verses in the title. I don't know, but there's a lot of precedence for this with these things, of things called verses that really aren't actually really a versus thing. But anyway, the comic series by James Tynion IV and Freddie Williams, which loosely adapts that material, but surprisingly pulls a lot of scenes directly from it, and even a lot of lines of dialogue and stuff. It's one of the weirder adaptations I've seen in that it's really faithful to the original material and still tells a different story, more or less.
Oh, weird. I've never read that book, so I didn't know. I knew there was different details and stuff that were changed. That's multiverse, isn't it, that book?
It is, yeah. And I'll talk about a little bit of that as we go. I went into I went into a lot of detail with that in the rewind, so I won't spend too much time on that. We'll talk more about just the movie as we have it, as we go along here. But anyway, this will be a treat and a really fun, laid-back thing to do because there's not a whole lot of story and character meat here. It's kind of, like I said in the rewind, fan service the movie, but in the absolute, in my mind, best way possible. I think it's one of the best examples of when that actually can work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's just a fun crossover. It's exactly what it should be.
Yeah, and it's exactly what it purports to be, except for the verses part. So anyway, if you want to watch it with us, and we encourage you to do that, get out your DVD, your Blu-ray, your digital copy, however you want to watch it. This is currently not streaming for free anywhere. I should never say for free, because, of course, you'd have to pay a subscription. But it's not in a subscription service anywhere right now that I know of. You can rent it in some places, and, of course, I own it. So I'll be playing from disc, but get it to timestamp 0 past any menus and get ready to press play when I say now. Austin is coming to this for the first time. He just watched this for this discussion. And Austin, you're not a big Turtles guy, right?
No, I grew up with the original, mostly first two. I watched the third one here and there, but I mostly just know the movies. I think I've seen one episode of the '80s cartoon, and all I remember from it is Shredder yelling, "Not even pizza with extra olives can stop me this time, Turtles." I was like, "That's pretty awesome."
How does it not make you want to keep watching that show, right?
Yeah, and I haven't seen I watched that episode maybe 10 years ago, and that line has always stuck with me because it's awesome. So I need to watch more of that show. But that's basically all the cartoon stuff I've seen.
It's sad
never
that
read the
still
comic.
isn't streaming anywhere. I was hoping when Paramount Plus happened that maybe they would get all of the Turtle shows, but they've only got 2003 there.
Oh, they don't even have the new one.
No, 2012's not there. The new one isn't there. Rise of the Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Okay, so when they made that Paramount Plus ad where they just threw everything into it, and because when I watched that I was like, why is just an '03 turtle here instead of the new one? Wouldn't that make more sense?
It's because that's the only
sense.
thing they put there. And
yeah.
I'm not complaining, really, because that was never streaming anywhere either and was the worst thing to try to watch because it had some of the worst DVD releases ever. It was really hard to organize it and to be able to put it all together, and they kept changing the way they released it and stuff. It was an absolute mess. And so it's really nice that you can finally watch that all in one place now. I was watching it on YouTube for a long time, and now we got decent transfers, and that was exciting.
That's like me with 90s Spider-Man, just watching that on YouTube for years, and now I can just watch it on Disney Plus, which came out like a month after I like bought a bootleg Blu-ray, but whatever.
Man, I've had that happen with some things. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Get
Yep.
ready to press play when I say now. We're just about to do that. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
I've been watching like a ton of Warner Brothers animation this week.
Oh, really?
It's
What else have
weird.
you watched?
I watched both parts of Long Halloween, and I watched that new Mortal Kombat movie this week.
Oh, man, you're way ahead of me. I haven't had a chance to check out either of those yet.
That Mortal Kombat movie is insane.
This might be the earliest I've ever said this, but of course, this will date this commentary. Be fun to do
when I watched
commentary
this for
on
the
Scorpion's
first-
Revenge
what's
at some
that?
point. I said it might be.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I was gonna say when this opened up to the red sky and blimps, I like lost it last night. It's like yes.
It's interesting right out the gate that we go to a place called Powers. More of a deep pull reference than you would immediately expect for this until you realize that these guys have lots of reverence for both of these properties, and they're just fans making a thing that's not fanficky in the wrong kinds of ways. And Powers is a reference to Batman Beyond. And we don't actually see Derek Powers in this at all. But it's sort of like what we keep doing in Marvel right now with Alchemax, where for the longest time that was just the 2099 thing. And now we've brought that into present day and made it a thing, and we can't stop dealing with Alchemax. So I was really shocked to see Powers here.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. I've never seen Batman Beyond, so I didn't realize that was pulled from that.
That's what that is. I think what the movie is wanting you to think initially in the first couple seconds of this is that she is April.
That was what I had. I was like, oh, I guess so. April lives in Gotham.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Barbara. Okay.
Because it's a girl that looks like, she could be April. She's got similar enough hair and all of that, and then she's in a laboratory, which is one of the couple of locales you would expect April O'Neil in at this point, and then it turns out that it's Batgirl. Curiously, April does not show up in this. Neither does Casey Jones, neither does Splinter. And one of my few complaints about this is that we don't do any of the supporting cast of the Turtles.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get to see at least Splinter.
And there's talk about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see him like once in like a flashback thing where he's just a solid image.
So very often these direct-to-video movies will have kind of weak scores and not especially memorable themes. This one is great.
No, it's great.
It was in my head for weeks the first time I saw this. It sounds like it could be, and I'm going to say this about a lot of things with this movie. It sounds like a theme that would work fine for a Turtles thing or a Batman theme, but somehow maybe more Turtles than Batman, but like the Batman style Batman, it fits great for it. And so when you put them together, it somehow sounds like just the perfect blended theme where it's like, yeah, if you're going to make a Batman Ninja Turtles thing, that's your theme for these two things. It's not a Batman thing or a Turtles thing. It's a Batman Turtles thing. And I feel that way about a lot of stuff in this, where they make such a great case for these things not just being crossed over, but being in the same world and being the same property. So this doesn't feel like two properties crossing. It feels like they made a case for Batman and Ninja Turtles is a property, is a cartoon show. This should have been the pilot for an ongoing show. And that would have been a wonderful theme
awesome.
for an ongoing show.
Yeah, last night when I texted you like, oh, I'm a minute into this or whatever, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
It was that like the guitar picked up in the intro.
Is I was going to ask you what you were referring to. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this movie's gonna be wonderful.
And of course we do a lot of staples visually. We got to have the turtles in silhouette at the beginning, so you don't see what they look like right away. Every time we do that, that's always a callback to the '90 movie, and a lot of fans always kind of want that with Ninja Turtles, where you have kind of that money shot. It's like, oh, there's that's what they look like. That's always fun, and also a thing that you can do with Batman too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just immediately it's giving me, like, what I know about the Turtles, and when I think Batman, I think, like, old school, like, the blue suit that he's got in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, it's matching both, both parts of what I like about each franchise.
This is one of those things that would be really easy to be confused about who it's for, and it doesn't have that problem whatsoever. I think it's a thing that is kind of oddly accessible, because I think, with the exception of some weird violence that I don't know why is there exactly. We can talk about that as we get to it. And I guess there are some bits where we should probably just point out, like, what homages are, but, like, we just had that shot of the turtles on the roof, which is in early Turtles cover, and also I think the end of the 80s animated intro. But anyway, I think this is easily a thing that kids, and especially maybe 9, 10, 11-year-olds would enjoy just as an action thing. But it's the main audience that it's aimed for is pretty clearly, like, guys my age or a little younger who grew up with the goofier cartoon version of Ninja Turtles, and maybe some Batman to some degree in different media, right? That appreciate the stuff that we grew up with, but made just slightly more sophisticated. Not taking itself too horribly seriously, but just tickling our sensibilities, yes, the nostalgia thing from when we were younger, but making it something that we can take just seriously enough to not go, okay, we're going back and looking at outdated stuff. So, like, you mentioned the blue suit Batman, but, like, we've got the 87 Turtles just handled more seriously. Like, it is basically that version. They've got the initials on the belt buckles. We've got foot soldiers that aren't robots, but are still wearing purple. We have the 87 cartoon Shredder suit just made, for lack of a better way of putting it, really badass. I think it's the best Shredder suit we've ever had.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I love it so much.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of that Batman Brave and the Bold thing for the Ninja Turtles, where it's you just take that material and you just make it the way you thought it was when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's what Brave and the Bold was for 60s Batman.
Yeah.
The guy who made that was like, I just tried to make a show that was what I imagine I was watching when I was watching 60s Batman. And you're right, that's what this is for 87. And in some ways, that's what 2012 is, but that show is still aimed at a much younger audience. And I think Brave and the Bold sort of is, but also is at the same time for adults that want to feel like kids again. Which is much different from making a really kiddie thing and hoping adults will watch it. I think there's an absolute distinction.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, I don't think I talked about this in the rewind, but I was shocked the first time I saw this to see this guy who is simultaneously in the scene, one of the henchmen for the Penguin. He is a Frank Miller mutant and Bebop at the same time.
Oh, I was thinking the Krang bot, like, by his head. But yeah, I guess
it kind of looks like that too, but I think it's more the Bebop visor.
Yeah. That's really funny.
There's just a lot of really clever references like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the thing was purporting to be, like, a deeper story, a more character-driven story than it is, but then just relied a lot on fan service because it didn't know how to do that well, I'd of course be crying foul on it. But it knows what it wants to be, and it doesn't have aspirations really any more than let's just put everything we like about these two properties in a movie and go. So I mean, you have a really cookie cutter kind of villain story in this. I don't care. It's an intentional Saturday morning cartoon, but made for 35-year-olds.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think that's valid. I think you can make that. I wouldn't want everything to be that, but I love that it just is what it is.
No, candy is nice sometimes. Not everything has to be a nice steak.
That's exactly right. And
I was shocked to see Tom Kenny come back as the Penguin in this.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like that's the animated movie go-to when we want the Penguin, but we don't have a take on the Penguin.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
Because they basically did the same kind of Penguin in Return of the Cape Crusaders, and that should have been like Meredith, and really kind of wasn't. And everybody else, they were trying to do sound-alikes and characterize like the '60s show, but not their Penguin. And I think it might have been Tom Kenny again. I can't remember, but it was basically just that version again.
See, I was thinking it was the first time we brought him back since the Batman, but I guess not. I'm not entirely sure.
It may not. I'm not sure. Something else I'd forgotten is that we have what's his name voicing both Batman and the Joker in this.
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker, and I'm constantly racking my brain trying to remember what the movie is where Troy Baker is voicing both Batman and the Joker, and I always think it's some Lego thing. No, it's this, and I never can remember that. We're talking over one of the coolest fights that has ever happened in animation.
And Shredder basically comes in the way he does in the original movie, that like slow-mo drop down.
I lost it when I first saw this. That was the big geek out, I'm a child moment. Like, I don't even care that I'm being an obnoxious fanboy right now. It's exactly the same thing I did when, spoiler for the end of the second season of the Amazon Tick Show, if you still haven't seen that, you know, it got canceled. But they're set up for Thrakkerzog, who's one of my favorite villains in the Tick, and I just freaking lost it and screamed at the screen. And I don't do that. I don't do the, like, you know, the react video thing where, like, everything is just 11 and, like, a big deal. Oh my god, it's a thing I recognize! And I did it with that, and I kind of did it with this.
Which is funny, because
glad I wasn't on camera.
When that happened on the Tick, I was like, oh man, Cap's gonna lose it at this.
I had a party, I had a bunch of people over to watch that with me, and they all just had to deal with me screaming through that scene.
Yeah, I was really surprised that we just did, like, the original Shredder design. I figured we would kind of, like, update it and try to make it more badass, the way that, like, a lot of other adaptations do. You know, where you kind of, like, make him more armored and stuff like that.
And then he just straight up does, like, a Street Fighter fighting game move here.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the you know, anime thing, where you have a character that, like, creates a symbol that may or may not be a thing everybody in the scene can see. I'm not sure. But that scene is intentionally Dragon Ball Z, I guess.
Yeah, no, at first I was like, what's happening? Like, he's doing, like, a Doctor Strange move.
I like that they explain later what it is.
Yeah.
That it's... I mean, you could complain that there's nothing else like that in the movie, so I don't know why that is as ultra-stylized as it is. But I do like that what it's supposed to be conveying is that it's this special move that only 2 people on the planet know how to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you see Splinter.
So, like you alluded to earlier, this movie has just gotten away from the interdimensional thing, and I always immediately respect that, because we don't have to spend half the movie or more just figuring out how these 2 worlds collide. And it's a better idea than what we do in the comics, because the comics are pesky, of course, because we're going, well, we have these 2 pre-established versions of these things, so we have to come up with an in-continuity way they get together, never mind whether those continuities will ever reference them and act like it really happened, right? It's weird there because Tinian's turtles don't really read like the IDW turtles, even though that's apparently supposed to be what it is. This should be weirder than it is. This kind of shouldn't work, but it does, where you have... The big deal here is supposed to be the novelty of 2 things that existed separately, one, of course, which inspired the other to some degree, Batman to Turtles, that we all know already, that, like, their worlds collide, except they're not any versions we've ever seen before. So we're being introduced to these versions of each of these in this movie, and that shouldn't work, But it does, because we don't make it interdimensional, first of all. We say that they were both in the same world in the first place, and we just make it all one property, like I said earlier.
Hmm. That's especially weird because like I haven't read a lot of those kind of company crossovers, but IDW also did that Avengers and New Avengers and Transformers crossover.
When was
I don't know if
that? I
you've
didn't
ever
know
read
about that.
I think that's pretty early on in the Transformers run because it's in like book 2 of like the big
Wow.
gray hardcovers, and it's just like the Transformers rock up to like some base and the Avengers are there. Go, you know?
Well, and that's what they did in the old Transformers comics.
Which is, I wonder maybe if that's why they did it that way, is because there was precedent for that. Because
Yeah.
that used to be Marvel.
This is the same model that we did with Batman Predator, where we don't deal with, these are things in different universes. We just say the Predator's out there and shows up on Earth, and Batman has to fight it. And it's great.
Yeah, I really want to read that at some point.
You
'cause
should.
I
It's
love
one of my favorite
Predator.
and I have read a ton of those things, and that's one of my the first one especially. The second one's really good too. The third one do not bother with, but it's one of my favorites. This probably would be one of my favorites if the comics handled it a little bit more like this movie does. And that's not to bash the comics too much because I like them, but I think that this is closer to what that should have been overall. And I said this in the rewind, but there's a little bit more like character work and like paralleling, and all with the Turtles and Batman, and also some interpersonal conflict that you don't get in this movie. That this story would have been served well by having maybe 2% more of that. But this is still the better movie, despite the fact that that is actually more of a character piece than this is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because it pulls off what it's attempting, I think, better than the comic does. Because they're both somewhat after different things.
Okay, yeah.
How do you feel about Michelangelo in this movie?
Depends on the scene. I think there's moments where the like humor doesn't really play, and there's others where I think it does. I find like he's more hit or miss. I think out of the out of the turtles.
He is characterized, and a lot of his jokes come straight out of that comic series, but he is characterized more or less exactly the same way Tinian does. And Tinian's Michelangelo is fundamentally a different character than the IDW version. And that's part of the reason that I find it really difficult to consider them the same, the same characters. It is, and that's why it was so smart for this to basically go to 87 and just make it slightly more serious.
Yeah.
And so he is basically the 2012 Turtles version of Michelangelo, where he's pretty much just a walking meme, and is and is just kind of the fanboy eyes in for the audience. And it's okay sometimes. Like, I think some of his jokes are legitimately funny, but it can get a little bit irritating sometimes. At least he doesn't have the 2012 catchphrase thing that Michelangelo has, the "Ho Bashar," or whatever it is he says. Like, Michelangelo already had Chicowbunga. Why does he need another one? I don't understand that. Baxter Stockman is one of the best jokes I've ever seen in anything. It's such a great idea.
Yeah, he's really good in this.
Well, what we did was we took sound alike. I don't know who this voice actor is, but we did a sound alike for Jeff Goldblum, and we made Baxter Stockman not a fly, but the Fly, and it's just genius. And like, if you get it, it's a hilarious joke, and if you don't, it's just fun to see Baxter Stockman get to be a fly again. Because we don't do that version very much, and I'm not sure if 2012 did, because I didn't watch that whole show, but IDW I don't think did it until this, because I think he's a fly. I can't remember now because it's been a while. I think he's a fly in the crossover comics, with Batman. But I don't think they'd done it in IDW until that point, if memory serves. And there's a lot of setup and allusions to the fly thing in IDW, but I don't think to date he's ever turned into a fly. I'm issues behind now. I haven't been reading that lately, so I'm not sure, but it's really... He's got fly bots and stuff. He still hasn't been a fly. And there's lots of mutates, of course, in that book, but I digress.
Yeah, IDW is weird like that sometimes. Like, I remember they had a whole thing with why they would never use Unicron in that like IDW Transformers book. I don't know if they ever ended up doing it. Just like writers changed, but
did they constantly foreshadow Unicron, knowing they were never gonna do him?
That no, but
so I had a thought the last time I saw this that I wish I had put in the rewind, although I haven't gone back and listened to the rewind, so maybe it is in there and I'm not remembering that I thought of this, but I don't think I did. I really like the idea, we'll get this a little bit later, but I really like the idea of putting the mutagen and Joker toxin together like this movie does it. And I'm pretty sure we do that in the comics too, but we really emphasize in this movie the idea, and again, this is not a real deep thing or anything, but thematically just talking about what the two properties are at their core. Batman is about madness and like mental health, right? And the Turtles are about like physical transformation and pushing the boundaries of what humanity even is, I guess. And so you take so the villain plot is we're going to take literally what at the core these two properties are, and we're going to make it the conflict. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It was also cool because they took like an element from a comic book I wrote when I was like 10.
What'd you write when you were 10? What was it?
It was so you know how kids have like their own creations and like stuff that they write where it's like you can clearly tell what you're ripping off.
Yeah.
So it was like one of the villains is basically Scarecrow, and he like combines his like fear toxin with like this other formula that gives you like superpowers, and it makes a dude into this giant like Hulk creature. So when this happened, I was like, oh, it's my old comic idea. That's weird.
That's a thing we've been doing a lot in comics the last several years, where we like to take a couple of different formulas and blend them together to make something even bigger and scarier. Like we kind of do that with the Venom toxin in the Arkham games, right? Where we have like a bigger, scarier Venom guy, and we're constantly mixing like Joker Venom with other stuff. Mm-hmm. This scene is pulled directly out of the book, and a lot of the scenes that are show up in different places in the movie than they do in the book. There's a lot of mixing around where scenes are.
Oh, okay. Now that the Turtles are here, I should mention I love that they're basically like Mike Mignola drawings. It's awesome.
Yeah, and
the designs are great.
It's funny you say that because when the designs were released, I think on a video I suggested that Raphael looked like Mignola drew him, but the other three all looked like different artists did them. And I think in practice, like watching them move and just seeing them in more scenes than just like a still, I think you're right. I think they do all look like Mignola could have maybe made them. I think Raphael, more than any, just because he looks the closer to like a Hellboy, because he's bulkier.
Yeah.
And it's
if
interesting.
If he had really small legs, he would be Hellboy.
And it's interesting because you could have designed the whole thing to look like a Mignolan thing, considering that Mignola's also drawn Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's done quite a bit of Batman.
What we did instead is we made Batman look more like the 70s cartoon. Like, in the face, that's what he looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Batman's just kind of like, like I said, what I think of as kind of like definitive Batman. Like, they just kind of took that, like, Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil era Batman, and they were like, slap him in here.
I always like it when we let the turtles swim. In every incarnation, that never happens enough.
I thought the turtles can't swim though.
No, they do. In most things,
Oh.
anyway.
I thought like they land in water and they get dragged away and you die.
Well, these turtles swim.
It's just NES game.
In most things, yeah. No, in other stuff too. Anyway, I like that shot, and partly because it does remind me of that level in the NES game, but
you could walk over it?
You can just walk over it?
The bat suits are like pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did not expect them to put like the original Batman design as one of the costumes.
Again, just a lot of reverence for this material.
Mm-hmm. Because I think the like purple gloved suit is one of them as well. But I didn't get a good enough look at it when I watched it the first time.
Which shows up in a lot of things now. And we're getting to the place where it's almost obligatory to have that shot of like a bunch of old Batman things that you've seen before. But especially when something shows up that you haven't seen, very often, that's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a prude about it. I just watch and read a lot of this stuff, so...
Oh, of course.
It's certainly worth doing because I don't want to do the Stan Lee every comic is somebody's first comic thing, but at the same time, somebody's going to watch this as a novelty that hasn't looked at a lot of Batman throwback stuff, and that's going to hit them and speak to them in some way. This is kind of one of, if not like the famous panel from that book with Raphael sitting on top of the dinosaur. I don't think he's wearing a bat cape in the comic when he does it. I'm trying to remember. I think he's just sitting on top of the dinosaur, but it's either a full page spread or it's like a half page, and what he says there is verbatim what he says in the comic, and it's like huge letters in a giant balloon, or I think maybe even the balloon is missing. It's just these huge letters where it's like, I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life. Like, he's just a big fanboy, and you the audience member are supposed to be feeling the way he does, and yeah, it's a little on the nose, and I don't have to have that, but it could be a lot worse than it is, so I don't mind it too much.
And then this scene is very cathartic because I get to see the turtles beat up Damian.
I really appreciate that I get to do a commentary with somebody that feels the same way I do about Damian Wayne.
Yeah, when he showed up, I was like, oh god, it's Damian. And then they characterize him as like a petulant child.
Which we do with him in quite a few things. But yeah, it's like, if he's not going to have any pathos or anything, all you could really do with him is the same thing we often do with any younger Robin, which is we just make him a cross between Tim Drake and Jason Todd. And I guess he's got a little bit of Damian in him just because he is, more ornery than either of those characters, I guess.
Yeah, because when I watched it the first time, because we were kind of doing some parallel stuff, we have Batman, Leonardo, Batgirl with Donatello, and then I just kind of assumed Damian would be paralleled with Raphael, so I was like, I'm surprised they didn't put Nightwing in here to be like the Michelangelo. And then Robin's kind
don't do that.
More, yeah.
The parallels that you're picking up on, I don't think are remotely intentional, especially because they don't.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't think they are. In the book, there is a lot more of that, really, with just the Turtles as an entity and Batman as an entity. And the movie is only doing that on a superficial level. It's not really dealing with their personalities or backgrounds or worldviews. And because it's a Saturday morning cartoon, and I think intentionally so, it's not at all interested in anybody's motivations beyond just typical good guy, bad guy, vigilante, evil villain that wants to take over the world. Like, I don't know why Ra's al Ghul does anything he does in this movie. Like, he wants to take over everything because he's Ra's al Ghul. They say, like, yeah. It's not a league, it's a death cult. Okay, but, like, why did he set it up in the first place? What is he trying to accomplish? That stunned me the first time I saw it. I was like, was it necessary to have a guy get beheaded in this movie? Like,
yeah.
Because 99% of this is kind of okay for kids, I have let my kids watch this movie, and then I just have to tell them, you're going to see a decapitated head, and you're going to see a shuriken go through a guy's skull. I don't know why those things are here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because this plays as something that, like, you can watch, like, just with the family, and then you get moments like that where it's like, ah, did you really have to go that far? And I mean, a lot of these kind of animated DC movies have that issue.
But this one is
So I guess
weirder
just
because it's so few and far between. It doesn't. A lot of those movies feel like every 5 to 10 minutes they have to justify themselves as a PG-13 movie and say, "No, it's okay, adults. You're allowed to be here."
Mhm.
And again, justification, like, trying to say, yes, this is for the audience that we told them it was for, even though it kind of isn't. And here it's weird because we don't have a lot of language. There's a little bit that's not,
Mhm.
you know,
It's not as
it
bad
doesn't go
as it
too
is in
far.
some of the other movies,
Yeah.
so that's nice.
But yeah, like I said in the book, Raphael and Batman have kind of a tiff because I think it's Raphael because at first Raphael thinks that he's just, and there's an allusion to it here, but we don't go anywhere with it. Where Raphael thinks that Batman is just some rich guy that does this for kicks and doesn't realize like his background and how he got there. And there's some really nice comparisons with the motivations between the Turtles and Batman, where they both feel like they're kind of forced into this life, and there's a reason that they do it. This movie's not about any of that stuff.
Yeah, like with the parallel thing, I was expecting it to be more of like Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase, where you just like go, okay, these two characters are the same. They're gonna like go off and do a scene, which we like kind of do, where Batgirl and Donatello kind of go off together, Batman and Leonardo. Not so much like deep parallels.
I really like that Harley Quinn comes up with one more insult for the Shredder's helmet that I've never heard anybody say. Like it's always like can opener or something, and she calls him Mirror Head. I think it's just because I've always loved Tara Strong, but I love the way Tara Strong delivers Mirror Head.
See, I've never liked Tara Strong's Harley, so when Shredder turns around, he's like, "I hate Gotham." I was like, "Ah, I'm with him."
The only thing I don't like, and there's no way around it, so it's fine. But the
Mhm.
only thing I don't like about um, Gotham and New York being in the same universe, like not doing the interdimensional thing, is that, and I've talked about this a lot, but to me, DC should always have analogs to real cities as opposed to having real cities. Like Gotham and Metropolis are both like two sides of the same coin, and they are New York. I don't like a world that also has New York. It's never made sense to me. But you
Yeah, I
can't do the
agree.
Ninja Turtles without New York. I kind of think it would be disingenuous to that property to say the Turtles have just always been in Gotham. Like I think they have to be New York. So
Yeah, that's what I assumed they were going for at the beginning when I thought it was April O'Neil in the lab.
yeah, it's a really well integrated thing tonally because a lot of these things will feel like it's more of one property's kind of story than the other, and then the other entity or group is just walking into that. But this is like on the face of it, it's a Ninja Turtle story that is encroaching upon Gotham. Bringing in the mutagen and stuff. But I think it's blended so well that ultimately it is a total amalgamation. Don't you think?
Yeah,
Of the two properties. I don't feel like it's more of a Ninja Turtle story or more of a Batman story. Maybe more of a Turtles thing, just in that it is more of more of an like Saturday morning cartoon than Batman's been, at least in the modern age. But
hmm I agree. I was surprised we didn't put in like Bebop and Rocksteady in that Arkham segment though, because it does kind of become like more of a Batman movie in that segment where we just kind of go to Arkham. Like we're doing the mix thing,
yeah,
but it is more so dealing with the Batman side of things.
but I think the idea there is trying to turn the Arkham characters into Ninja
Into
Turtles
turtle
villains.
villains, yeah.
So I don't know that I would want to integrate some Ninja Turtle villains also in the middle of that.
We should have had Bebop and Rocksteady become Batman villains, where they lose their powers and then they're just crazy people.
Where it's like, Yeah, and they just, because they're dumb idiots and they don't have any imagination, they just rip off somebody else's motif. So Bebop's just like, you know what, I'm gonna murder people and just start scratching tattoos into myself now. Like, I'm Bebop Zazz.
And then Rocksteady will come in and he'll be like, I'm Scare Raven.
I don't know why Scarecrow, when he turns into a crow, still has fear toxin, but we'll get there. I don't like, and I talked about this in the rewind, I don't like the thing with Batgirl being weirded out by the word ooze. It's really dumb. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know, like, the way it plays is like, I'm a girl.
It's like a moist meme thing, you know, where like you'll do the joke about, oh, I don't like the word moist.
But it also plays like, you know, ooze looks and sounds icky, so because she's like a superficial female character, she has to like make it sound less icky by giving it a different name. And it's dumb because ooze and mutagen are both things that we call it in Ninja Turtles. They're interchangeable. It's like she just doesn't. It's dumb that she doesn't like the word ooze. It's also dumb that on the Turtle side, they keep insisting on calling it anti-ooze instead of anti-mutagen. Like, just let her call it that. Who cares? I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like they just couldn't think of anything for her to do.
What could Batgirl do? She could not like the word ooze. That seems like a good role.
I wonder if there's some secret of her not liking ooze.
No.
There's just gonna be no secret.
No.
Oh, man. Like I said, there's, you know, a lot of scenes, like, that are in this from the comic but are moved around. One thing I think we kind of improved on that was smart is we bookend the pizza thing, and then we have the scene where Batman finally takes a slice happen right at the end, where he's, like, just mellowed out a little bit and fully embraced them. I think it's really smart to have that scene right at the end. It used to be more in the middle.
Oh, that is weirder. Because that's just, like, the obvious ending to do.
Yeah. My wife and I just had a conversation yesterday about tall oval bat symbols versus wide bat. I was trying to explain to her that there have been bat symbols that are tall like that, and she didn't believe me. She was like, "Why would you ever make one like that?" I was watching this movie earlier, and I took a picture of my projector screen with that symbol. I was like, "See, there's one." But yeah, I also think the reason that we don't have more Turtles villains is because the Turtles are 4 characters instead of 1. So it's like Batman's characters have to populate the world, and the Turtles are, with the exception of Shredder, encroaching on it. But again, still I think it's as much a Batman story as a Turtle story. But I think they're overcompensating with that, because at the very least we should have, you know, April and or Splinter show up.
Mm-hmm.
I would think.
Yeah, Splinter I thought was the weirdest one, but I was also expecting April to show up.
And I also wonder if part of the reason for that is just initial world building, where they think they might get more movies, because they do end this on a cliffhanger with the after credit scene, and it seems...
Oh, I didn't know there was an after credit
scene.
Scene.
Well, you're in for a treat there, because it's fun, but and it's not a thing from the books. They set up a whole other direction to go that they did not do in the books, or at least they didn't do in the first 2. I've not read 3 yet. I think I started at one point, but I don't remember anything about that now. I just thought of something I never thought about before.
Like, he walks in the Batcave, and then you just hear, like, you didn't think the Turtles were the only Saturday morning cartoon, did you?
Nope.
And it turns around and it's the Thundercats.
No, it's better than... No, it's not yet another crossover thing. That's good. Where'd you guys come from, Bloodhaven? We just live there. I wonder if this is intentional, but even if it isn't, it's a fun thing to read with it. And all the stuff I can read into this movie is, again, superficial and about the properties before it's about characters, right? Red Sky! Red Sky is a big thing with Ninja Turtles. So if you go back and look at the Batman animated series, there's some Red Sky in that show, particularly in the in the New Adventurous stuff. It seems like every episode the sky is like bright red. Here it's more purplish, But I wonder if the Red Sky thing is intentional, because we do it in that show, but we call the '87 Turtle show the 10th season the Red Sky season.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
they do that to try to make the show look more serious, or maybe it's like the last 3 seasons or something. I thought it was just the 10th, but it might be that they do it for a little while before that. I can't remember. But there's this era of that show right at the end where they're desperately trying to keep viewership, where they think that they have to make it more serious and make it look more like something like Batman the Animated Series, and also because they know that there's a big fan base for the '90 movie, and I don't know if you know this, they go all the way to showing clips from the live-action movie in the intro to try to make you think that the show is more like that, and it's hilarious. It's comparatively more serious, but it's still not like, Batman serious. But anyway, I wonder if they did that on purpose, because that's also a thing that both of those shows had in common at one time.
Maybe, yeah. I love how just like beaten down by the world Gordon is in this movie, where he shows up and he's like, "Oh yeah, those turtles. I guess I just can't wait till I retire."
It watches like a precursor to the joke they make out of him in the Harley Quinn animated series, because there he's like this constant like coffee drinking, like he's got like 5 o'clock shadow all the time, and he's constantly afraid that his wife is gonna leave him, and he gets no sleep whatsoever. He's just like he's gonna go postal and murder everyone at any moment. Like, that's the Gordon in that. So this is like the toned down, more kid friendly version of their rated R Gordon. I don't think I've ever seen Mr. Freeze with a beard, and I like it, because it looks like it's made out of ice. It's like he's got a snow beard, and they clearly just do that because he's going to turn into a polar bear, and he's going to have, polar bear fur. But I think it's kind of a cool look for Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, they're lucky they all turn into animals related to what they are.
Okay, that's a thing, and I was really shocked to see it here. The Joker mouth there on black. I'm trying to remember where it is, because I had it on the back of... I should have looked for it before we did this commentary. It was on the back of a trade I had of a Joker thing, and I can't remember if it's Killing Joke or if it's the book Joker, but that is a famous image, and I don't know if it was a cover of one of those books or if it was just on that trade.
I know what you're talking about.
We are homaging that specifically.
I can't think offhand what that is, but I know what you're talking about now.
But, it was on a popular book, but I'm still going to call that a relatively deep pull. These are people that like this and read comics and, like this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we haven't pointed everything out, but lots of really nice homages to, comic covers and famous panels and stuff. There's a bit... I'll get in front of it right now in case I miss it while we're talking about other stuff, but there's a bit in a little bit where you'll see... And it's like one frame. You'll blink, you'll miss it, but there's this shot of Batman and Harley Quinn where she's got a hammer over her head, and Batman's in the exact pose he is with that classic, I think it's like a 70s image that was used for a ton of merchandise in the 80s right around Batman 89. I don't know who drew it initially, but it is clearly intentionally an homage to that image. And they did it with Harley Quinn instead of Joker just because she's got that mallet, but they're in those exact poses, and it's in side profile like it is on all of that stuff. When I was a kid, I had like 4 or 5 different Batman things that all had that image on them. I don't think I could, Google it and find it real fast, because I don't know who drew it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
I like how Polar Bear Mr. Freeze still has the glowing red eyes for some reason. It's great.
This might be...
or maybe it's still the, goggles.
This might be going too far. It probably is, but I'm having a hard time not reading homages and references into everything in this movie. We sold the Mr. Freeze animated Batman movie on an image on the cover of Mr.
Oh,
Freeze
the polar bears,
with
yeah.
bright red eyes, and they're polar bears in that movie, and I think the polar bears are even on the cover in the posters, if memory serves.
They are, yeah.
And I think it might be an homage to that, because he turns into a polar bear like they're in that movie, and he's got those red eyes like he does in that show and in that image. I think he's got the red eyes in that poster. I might be mistaken about that, but...
And of course, Michelangelo compliments him on his ice puns.
And that's fun. He just knows all the fanboy stuff that you're supposed to... All the obligatory stuff you're supposed to... I think part of the reason that I don't mind the fanboy Michelangelo thing is that all the... And it's not even always obvious. All of the really obvious dopey stuff comes from Michelangelo, but the movie itself is not relying on just stuff that general audiences have heard about. I think that's why I don't mind it.
That makes sense.
In the book, we don't really give a lot of these villains, like, their moment and things to do. We just turn all the Arkham inmates into mutates, and then they attack real hard and all at once, if memory serves. And here we give more of them, like a fun fight scene. And again, not character stuff or anything, but just, a moment visually to do a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all you need them for. I didn't realize that they took this from the book. I wasn't sure if this was made for the movie.
Yeah, it's a big reveal at the end of an issue. I think it's 4. I don't think it's as late as 5. I think there's a couple issues after it happens where Roz or Shredder or both, I can't remember now because it's just been a while since I've read it, turn all of Arkham into mutates, but they don't. It's not a Joker team up like it is in this, if memory serves. And that did feel a little bit obligatory, where we have to have Joker more involved just because, it's a movie that we're trying to sell to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said you weren't a big fan of his design in this.
Yeah, well, I think that's maybe the one negative I really have for this movie is, just me personally, I'm not crazy about Tara Strong as Harley or Troy Baker as Joker.
I don't like his Joker that much, but I can't agree with you on Tara Strong, and I get that a lot of people feel that way. I've always liked her in that role, but I'm partial to Tara Strong, so yeah.
Well, I like Tara Strong a lot too. I like her Poison Ivy in this. It's just I don't like her on Harley, and I can hear too many other voices she does in her Harley.
Her Harley is so close to Bubbles. It's almost twisted. I think she does it on purpose because it makes it more twisted in her mind. Because I've heard her in interviews and stuff, and she has a real kind of twisted sense of humor. And I think in her mind, it's funny that you take that really innocent Bubbles voice and turn it into something screwed up like Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And then Troy Baker Joker is just Diet Mark Hamill. That's the ultimate. If you don't have a take on the Joker, just hire Troy Baker. Like what you were saying with Penguin.
And his Batman is not Diet any other Batman, really. It's not Diet Kevin Conroy. I mean, there's some Conroy in it, I guess, if you're really looking for it, but I think he's got... I don't even want to say a take. It's like a generic Batman that's not just somebody else's Batman, if that makes any sense. It's not, that's not bad. They're doing an intentionally generic Batman in this.
No, I agree with that, because the first time he spoke in this movie, I was like, oh, did they get Conroy for this? And then I heard him speak again, and it was like, okay, no, this is Troy Baker. But there's hints of Conroy, but you're right, it's not just Diet Conroy. There's just a mix of stuff.
Does this moment not feel like they wrote 50 possible one-liners for Donatello or Batgirl to say right after they knocked Bane down, and none of them worked, so they just didn't bother with it?
Yes.
Because it seemed like Bane was setting them up for some kind of retort, right? Where he's like, I'm the man who broke the bat! And they fight him for a minute, and they knock him down, and you really expect Batgirl to be like, I'm the girl that did a thing, or something, and they don't say anything.
It should have just been the Austin Powers thing, where they just stand there and deliver every one-liner for that situation.
I mentioned earlier that they have the letters on the belt buckles. I love that. I think it's so clever because they're kind of subtle.
Hmm.
I mean, not totally subtle. You can tell what they're supposed to say, but they made them kind of like, leathery and a part of the belt instead of just like standing out. They're all the same color.
That's all you need. You don't need to like
Yes,
slap
they're headbands.
just like a ton of stuff on them.
I mean, I guess they are the color of the headbands. I feel like one of them was just leather, but
One of them was like gray, I think.
yeah.
It's also weird. Do we often have Leonardo's like what his hilt or whatever like on his side? Isn't it normally on his back?
It's usually on his back, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not an 87 thing. This gag is great. What do you think about this?
Oh, I thought this was really good. Yeah.
It's really fun. She had this whole setup where they're about to have this big giant fight and she just can't reach him, so they just walk around her. My favorite bit is when she goes, "Just hold on a minute."
Yeah, no, I thought this gag was really good.
So I have a question for you, Austin.
Hmm.
What determines what you mutate into?
I wondered that too, like why she's a plant and not an animal. It's just what your name and persona is. The mutagen. We don't want to say.
Don't say ooze. That's icky. Yeah, but
Even
it's
like two faces, two cat heads.
It's the cartoon logic of it, right? Like if this was in, a mid '80s Saturday morning cartoon, you wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
We don't question why the Transformers are the vehicles they are. They just are. We don't question why Megatron's a friggin' gun. He just is. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. He is until that's not okay anymore.
Right. I think that's the cringiest part of the line delivery for me when he goes, "Where's Shredder?" Like, I don't know.
Yo, it's rough. And then we get the real cringiest moment.
One of the things that always cracks me up about the... No, I won't talk over it. We'll just watch it. Yeah. That's another one of those things that feels like an obligatory, we're trying to make it seem a little more adult kind of things. We gotta have Batman or Joker and Harley Quinn, French kissing as animals.
Yeah, I mean, I have Michelangelo's reaction, so I guess, like, that part's believable.
But, one of the things that's fun about the 87 show is the couple of things that are actually more realistic than most other incarnation of Turtles, even though that show usually doesn't make any sense. It'll do crazy stuff like, giant banana monsters and stuff like that. That show actually says that if you're gonna mutate a person into a like rhino or something, you gotta have a rhino there.
Yeah, it's the last thing you touched, right?
Blend them, yeah. And it had Splinter as the actual Hamato Yoshi, as opposed to his rat who just observed everything. And
yeah, because that's one of the jokes I always hear about that show, where it's like, oh, it's whatever you last touch. So the turtles become giant turtle men, and then Splinter becomes a rat, even though he was just holding the turtles.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that part of it doesn't make sense. It's not perfect. It makes more sense than this.
It's still the 80s cartoon, yeah. No, it just depends on your name and persona.
But again, for the context of this, I don't mind. I don't even mind that there's not really an internal logic to that.
I don't either. It works for what it is.
It's just
Harley in the background looks like the evil Scrappy Doo from the Scooby-Doo movie. He's giant.
Can we just say though, despite a couple of designs that we're not caring for, it did not phone in this animation.
No, the animation in this is really good. They've seemed to have like stepped up their game, I think, at least a little bit in the
Oh yeah.
animation department in general. Because I think the Long Halloween movies also look pretty good.
I have issues with some things about that first one, but by and
Oh,
large, I think
definitely.
you're right.
It's not as generic as it was in
And
like the New
especially since that new
52.
team took over for the like official ones. I don't know who's making these because these are like the off the beaten path ones that don't really count as part of that line. So I don't know if any animators are working on this that are working on that stuff. I also don't know why one of the stained glass windows is Finding Nemo. I'm not sure why they picked a clownfish for that. Is it just because it's the Joker and
Yeah.
clowns?
What if Joker was a clownfish?
That's about as interesting as what if Joker was a snake. So not
Well,
at
he would
all.
just like he would flop around and die.
I don't feel like Snake is like the the best place to go for Joker. I don't know what it would be, but like the Joker's not like
It
I
just
guess
kind of feels typical, right? Like it's like he's a snake, I guess. That's evil animal.
yeah, I guess in a way he is like slimy and conniving, but just not in the way that I think about when you say like somebody's a snake. Like I think a snake. I think like backstabbing master manipulator type, and the Joker is more just unpredictable. You never know when he's going to strike. But I guess that's maybe the idea with the snake is like he's specifically that kind of snake because at any point he might strike, he might grab. Maybe that is the idea. I'm talking myself out of this argument. I think maybe they're on to something with that.
He should be a dog chasing cars. Where he like specifically mutates into a dog that always has cars in front of it.
That is what it should be. Most everybody else, it's kind of the clear, obvious route. Like Harley Quinn's got to be a hyena because what else is it going to be?
Yeah.
Few different things Bane could have been.
Yeah, that one just kind of feels like he's a cheetah because he's like a predator, I guess.
Yeah.
There's not like as obvious an animal for Bane, so it's like just pick any real predator. He could have been like a lion or something.
And now Donatello is really careful to not trigger Batgirl with saying. Oh no! I guess that doesn't. I guess it's the other way. I think you went. No, I'm saying anti-ooze. I'm doubling down on anti-ooze.
You should have just said ooze 10 times fast after she said it.
So when you said they're paralleling Donatello and Batgirl, I never really had that thought, and it's for a couple of reasons. And I'm not saying you're wrong about it, but one is because she doesn't really have the Oracle thing that much in this. Like, she's not... I don't know that she does machines as much as...
Well, they're kind of, like, experimenting together. It's that, like you said, it's just very surface level, but it's more like...
Yeah, like everything with that.
Yeah, which is about what I expect. Like, I don't really have an issue with that. But it's thought... They're the smart ones.
I thought they paired her up because... Or they paired those two up because this is either not too long after or 2012 is just wrapping up. And in 2012... Donatello has this massive crush on April. And through that whole show, that's his big, like, ongoing character arc thing, is that he's in love with April O'Neil. And my immediate assumption was just that they paired him and her up because they in their minds it's kind of that relationship, even though they don't actually say anything about that.
Okay, maybe.
And I don't know that they were even thinking that, but it just didn't even occur to me that it was anything else. It was like, oh yes, of course Donatello was palling around with the cute girl in this, because that's what he does in 2012.
Yeah, I think it was just because they're in the Batcave, and it's like, oh, Batman and Leonardo were, training. Batgirl and Donatello were working on this cure. And then Robin and Raphael are hanging out. and then Michelangelo and Alfred, I guess, are just off by themselves.
They have that sort of relationship where one of them is trying to change the other.
Yep.
I guess they're both
I
trying to
like
change
knock
each other,
Joker's
really.
teeth out.
Yeah. Are you gonna post that? Do you have like a social media account where you just have all these selfies with bad guys punch their teeth out?
Yeah, it's the official Batgirl Instagram.
I think Batgirl is put in this movie as just a strategic way to try to make it a little bit more accessible to a broader audience. She's not in the book at all, and there's not really a female character in that book, so I think that's why she's put here, is just so that it might appeal to a few more kinds of viewers.
Penguin is happy he was doing this instead. Otherwise, he would have turned into a penguin, and he would have been completely useless.
I also don't like the choice of going with that Batgirl outfit just because it's the big modern popular thing that was huge right then, and nothing else in this movie has that. Like, I don't mind that suit. It's fun. I get why people love it. It's weird. It was almost like that suit just took off as a popular thing all by itself. It wasn't even really about the character that was in it. It was just that suit was really popular. That's not fair. I think the run that introduced that was big with some people, but I never read that. But anyway, everything else in this is a classic look. But her suit's got to be the big thing that's in right now, and I think that's weird.
Well, I had that with both sidekicks for this, because we went with Damian because he's like the new one, and we went with that new Batgirl design. Because Batman's just like 70s.
But see, Damian's in that book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I'm not
So,
thinking about that because I don't have that context.
Sure, but looking at this as an adaptation, like they're mostly using characters that were in that book, except they've added Batgirl.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Oh, and of course, Ra's al Ghul has... See, in a way, this is the Saturday morning cartoon version of Batman Begins, because Ra's al Ghul has exactly the plot he has in... The plan he has in Batman Begins, except he's not doing it with Scarecrow Toxin this time. He's doing it with mutagen / Joker Toxin. But again, we don't know why. We don't know if it's tear down the city and trying to, build something better in its place, and anti-corruption and all of that. No idea why he's doing that.
Which makes this the second best time we've used that plot point where they're gonna turn the city into like giant or into different creatures. The first best one being Two-Face's plan in the '66 movie, where he's gonna turn everybody into Two-Faces.
It's so good. I forgot about that. Yeah, and of course, like, let's not forget that outside of Batman, we can't stop doing that in live-action movies, because X-Men does it, and then Amazing Spider-Man does it.
Oh, exactly. Those are all beneath this in the '66 movie, where everybody becomes Two-Face.
No, once you've done that, there's no reason to ever do it again.
Yeah, I remember when I watched that, I lost it, because I already laugh every time they do that plot point. But just how specific it is with Two-Face.
So now we're into our 6 seconds of interpersonal conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Where we just have an argument for a second from Batman about how impulsive and irresponsible the Turtles are.
Yeah.
And that's the conflict. I mean, there hasn't been any besides a misunderstanding at the beginning until now, and this will get resolved very quickly. There's no attempt at, like, a moral, quandary in this movie, anything like that. And again, I think it works fine without that. But I also think that you could have maybe gotten away with doing all of the fan service stuff and still had a little bit more of a character-driven story. And again, it doesn't even remotely ruin it for me. I love it for what it is, but I still think it could have potentially been a little bit more ambitious with that. At the same time, if it had... it might have turned into exactly what I said at the beginning of this. I was glad it wasn't. So,
No, this is more like that kind of typical, like, second act, like, characters have to be annoyed at each other moment. But we only have enough time to do it for one scene, so we need to, like, wrap that up right away.
Yeah, I do like that they don't try to really build it around a moral dilemma so much as just uh, the prevailing, the singular prevailing character flaws.
Hmm. And I'm glad they don't leave each other for like this scene and we drag this out.
I want that scene where Raphael corners Batman and asks him if he wants to know how he got that scar. He's got this big scar on his face. I don't know how he got that.
And then Batman says, "No, but I know how you got these." And then he stabs Raphael. That's where we parallel, because Batman can parallel to all of the turtles, but Michelangelo, that's where we parallel that, where that's his jokey side.
Oh, something else I meant to mention earlier is we were talking about the different designs and whether or not they all look Magnolia. One thing I like about all the different turtle designs is that however you feel about the oh, I totally forgot that we do the turtle fan in this. Because in full disclosure, in preparing for this, I was really busy today. I got like 2/3 of this watched, and then I didn't get to see the rest of it. And like, it's only been about 6 months since I watched this, but I totally forgot that we do the turtle fan. Anyway,
and the turtle fan has 3D glasses.
Oh, you're talking about the big thing in the front that's
yeah,
on it?
the thing that comes down.
So that's all the '87 show. It had that. Like, nearly everything that the Party Wagon has was on that toy. Like, it is that toy.
No, it's just funny that it comes down and it just looks like 3D glass.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But anyway, I was just gonna say, I always like it when we make all four of the turtles different kinds of turtles.
Yeah, no, I like that too. It adds to like differentiating them, where you can like tell the difference between them even if you don't have the specific like color like in shot.
Nothing real special about this Batmobile.
It's just kind of Batmobile, like yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Batman Forever one where it's got like the parts on the front.
I feel like it's maybe trying to homage the animated series car a little bit, just in how long it is. It's got that kind of slender thing, but it also is a little tanky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it perfectly fits Troy Baker as Batman. It's everything combined into one.
So it's funny. I think we homage like half of the shots from the opening of '87 in this movie. So when we start shooting manhole covers shaped like pizzas, that was another fanboy moment for me where I just totally freaking lost it. So not only are we playing around with the iconography of that show, but of course that show was based on toys, and they're also trying to appeal to the sensibilities of grown men who played with all these toys. And the Turtle Van, so I don't know if you know about any of this stuff. The Turtle Van did not shoot pizzas, but there was a toy that did, and they've combined them now, and I've got that toy still. It's this like tank thing that was battery. It's really loud. It's battery powered. You press a button on the top, you turn it on, and it shoots projectiles out. And it came with a crazy number of those. You got like 15 or 20 of these big pizza manhole covers.
Nuts.
Or
was there
at least
a toy
pizzas.
of Raphael with like a World War I helmet with the spike on top?
I don't know if they were supposed to be manhole covers, now that I'm thinking about it, but if that was made up for this, that's kind of a cool idea. They just painted manhole covers. The gun turret thing that he's got in the side of the door, that was part of that toy. I like how much of some of these fights are shot in silhouette.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
Because it looks cool, but it's also doing the Eastman Laird thing. Batgirl's driving essentially the Batgirl cycle from '66, just sleeked up and modernized. Which is another reason I wish she was wearing a classic costume, whatever.
Mm-hmm. She just landed her motorcycle on an elephant man.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Just not taking yourselves too seriously.
And we got the awesome motorcycle helmet that still has the bat ears.
Yes, which is a Batman animated series thing. I don't know if anything had done that before that. It's possible it had, but that's one of the goofier things in that show where you got Batman's got the helmet that just goes over his bat ears because it's got bat ears.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know, looking closer at this car, this is going to sound really, really weird and maybe kind of silly. If it's an amalgamation of only two things, it's the animated series car.
I see the animated series look in that shot, yeah.
Yes, it's the animated series car and the Arkham car? Question mark?
Yeah, I can see that. It's got the front bits, which is what I thought of forever with that, but it's on the Arkham Mobile too.
So I mentioned this in the rewind, but we never ever even bring up April in this movie, to my recollection, even though we do talk about Splinter, and when we see a calendar in the party wagon, it's turned to the month of April. Is that intentional? You be the judge!
Yeah, it could have been turned to the month of Casey Jones.
Man, I hate this Casey Jones weather.
So with the mutagen, I guess you can become animals that are also extinct.
You know, it's just whatever's in your ancestry, I guess. It reminds me of a Star Trek Next Generation episode called Genesis, where a bunch of it's an infamously dumb episode, and a bunch of characters de-evolve into ostensibly creatures that are part of like the past of their genome, and so even though they're all humanoid, like one guy turns into a spider, and somebody else turns into like a like a simian. And so I'm wondering if it's like that, where it's like, yeah, dinosaurs were in somebody's DNA at one point.
So that guy just turned back into a person and now has like 8 needles just like lodged in his throat.
He'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
That's like pure body horror.
This is one of those movies that feels like a big toy commercial and didn't get enough toys. It did get some toys, but it makes you wish that they made, and they're really expensive, unfortunately. I would have liked to collect this, but I cannot bring myself to pay the prices for some of these figures. I don't mean to be cheap, but like, I don't know, I tend to, for one action figure, I tend to draw the line these days at 20 to 25 if it's something I really want. When you start pushing to 35, 40, I got other things to spend money on.
It's too much, yeah.
It's a little too much.
When they first show like that round object at the beginning of the movie, I thought we were gonna get like a Technodrome thing at the end.
Yeah, that is not the after credit scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not Batman walks into the Batcave and the Technodrome is like, you don't think you're the only one out there, do you?
So that line would have been dumb.
Maybe I did see the after credits.
But scene. I would have been all about just something the Technodrome's in the Batcave. I'm all about that.
Yeah, Batman looks up at it and he's like, what's that? And the eye opens and cut to black.
Yeah, because you know what the subversion there would be? The whole movie you're thinking, isn't it really nice that we're not doing interdimensional? And then the Technodrome shows up at the end and takes Batman to Dimension X, and you're like, oh, we did go to another dimension. I mean, technically. Technodromely.
No, the after credits scene will be Batman sitting at his computer, and you pan like backwards, and you see that the entire world is in a snow globe in Dimension X.
So it's just the Men in Black thing?
Yeah.
So have you suddenly remembered what the after credit scene is? Like, do you know what it is?
I think I've seen it. Is it the Joker Shredder thing?
Yes. That's what it is.
I must have missed that it was after the credits then. Like, I must have...
It is. You gotta watch all the credits.
Brain.
But if you appreciated the thing that this does in the end credits as much as I do, you probably watched all the way through it because it's awesome.
The credits of this movie are awesome.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever.
No, it's great.
I can't believe they went to the trouble of doing that. And I don't know if that was just all, like, fan rendering stuff that they found online and maybe, like, asked permission from people to use, or if they just had somebody make all that. Like, I don't even know.
I don't know, but they are gods amongst insects.
And don't let anybody tell you different. So this movie has that weird thing where some people pronounce it Roz and some people pronounce it Raish, and I don't know how that got past the voice director, but okay.
Hey, at least it's not as bad as the animated Lord of the Rings movie.
Is that the
I don't
standard
know if you've
now?
ever... Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that, but...
No, I have.
Yeah, Saruman. Sometimes his name is Saruman, other times it's Aruman. It just depends.
Back then, maybe there were some scripts that, like, they typed it all on a typewriter, and at one point, just the S ran out.
Well, yeah, because what happened with that was some producer was like, Sauron and Saruman sound like the same name. You can't do that. Name him Aruman instead. And then later on, another writer came on and he fixed it, but I guess he didn't hit every single one.
That's really funny.
Nobody caught it. I don't know.
See, Leonardo's going through some real internal turmoil here in imagining all of his brothers dead because of residuals from fear toxin, and I'm not sure that anybody else knows that he's dealing with this. I just don't remember if, they realized he was hallucinating earlier and stuff. Like, he's going through this whole thing right now that just nobody else is even aware of.
Yeah, he's just going through some stuff.
And again, it's not about, telling us, revealing anything about that character or anything. It's just give us something a little akin to drama in the middle of all this action.
Yeah, if Michelangelo got it, it would be like, oh no, the pizzas are gone.
It would just be the world is boring now. Like, no, you took all the blimps out of the sky in Gotham. Those
Everything
were
turns
so
gray.
Cool. Sorry, what?
Everything turns gray.
His greatest fear is the aesthetic of the Eastman and Laird comics.
Yes, exactly. So do you think this movie would be better if Splinter came out of nowhere and killed both Roz and Shredder?
See, that would be where you'd be taking the references and homage a step too far. I mean, I think one of the things because you basically just be going, you guys loved that first movie, that first Ninja Turtles movie, right? Let's make fun of it. I mean, I think one of the things I like about this being just fan service, the movie, is that the fan service stuff never takes over to the point where it's plot points, but it also never feels like it's making fun of anything so much as just making a love letter, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just homage.
But to answer your question, yes, that's exactly what should have happened.
He just rocks up with a gun and he just shoots them.
Where he's like, and when you die! Nope. Not buying that. I never thought of that before. So, Shredder's got this clearly solid metal gauntlet. And Batman has clearly a not solid metal gauntlet. And somehow he's able to push off Shredder's gauntlet where, they're both locked and Batman wins that. His are obviously cloth, so, no.
Hey, he doesn't skip forearm day.
I watched the Lego Batman movie again last week, and I
did the 8-pack thing?
I did a video about it, and no, the freaking leg day thing is in that movie, and I completely forgot to mention it when I don't know which video will go up first, but I did a video on it, and I didn't complain about that. I totally forgot about it. It's part of a song. There's part where he's like, doesn't skip leg day. And I'm like, no!
Oh,
The
I
leg
remember
day.
that, yeah.
Ah!
That's part of the song where he beats up all the villains, isn't it?
Yes, it's toward the beginning. Everything else about that's great. God. We get to see Batman and Shredder throw down twice in this. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
I don't know, it's just, we did not squander really hardly anything about this. You know? Like, there's a lot of potential here, and I don't feel like we wasted it.
No, it's just kind of like just like definitive kind of crossover thing. You just kind of do everything you expect them to do. All the stuff you expect to kind of mix.
Yeah, for these things that are intended to just exist as a fun novelty, this should be the gold standard, at least for, like, you know, doing this kind of thing in animation.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even for comics to some degree. Because, like I said, sometimes they'll take themselves too seriously, but still aren't really about anything. And sometimes they're just not clever enough with the material. So the issue won't necessarily be, like, you know, formulaic and cookie cutter. Because, yeah, this is that, but I don't care. It made me not mind that.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes, again, it just, like, wastes my time and bores me to tears with, oh, how do we mix these universes? Yeah, I don't care. Just have them in the same universe already. It's fine. The turtle shells bouncing around thing is great. And we have a lot of fun with the turtles in their turtle shells in this. There's a shot toward the beginning of the movie that I hadn't noticed before, where in the background Donatello just is like under a shell, and like I just never noticed that. I like that to win this fight, Batman has had to take quite a beating. He lost his utility belt. He's got gashes and stuff. And, you know, I feel really gullible because this is all in Ace Chemicals. We've been kind of building that we're going to go to Ace Chemicals because there were some, you know, shots of that logo earlier in the movie, I think. And then, like, I really should have guessed, oh, we're just going to do a Shredder Joker. Never even occurred to me.
You know what they should have done?
What's that?
After credit scene is Shredder comes out and he's Joker, and then the roof falls on him and he dies.
but somehow he pulls it down on himself.
Yeah, like he's laughing maniacally, and then he just pulls out a gun and he shoots himself.
That's an impression I can do. He'd sound like this. Ah!
That was something.
I talked about this on a
sound clip.
That's exactly what I said. I talked about this somewhere recently. I think it was a Captain Logan show, where I for a long time I thought that must have been a like voice modulation thing they were doing in post. It really sounds like they just had a guy get in a microphone and go, ugh.
Oh, we just found her Instagram.
Oh,
it's Oracle.
She actually says Oracle. I forgot about that. Maybe I was being unfair about that. Maybe they were trying to have her be more of a computer geek in this, and I'm just not remembering it right.
Yeah, see, this is where we're like, these are the paralleled characters.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Mikey and Alfred.
Well, see, we're comparing and contrasting.
Mm-hmm. That's where I was like, it should have been Splinter and Alfred.
They're paralleling and mirroring. I think they were really conscious of the possibility of having too many characters in this movie. And again, I think they might have overcompensated a little bit. They could have gotten away with one or two more, maybe. But yeah, none of the other parallel characters are like the exact opposite. And again, if you were making a slightly different kind of movie, I'm saying it like that because I'm not complaining that we didn't do this, but it would be fun to do something like see Batman mentor Leonardo. You know, or what if your premise for a Batman Ninja Turtles crossover was Splinter dies right before they meet Batman, and Batman has to sort of attempt to fill the void, and we really like make a bigger deal out of the teenage part of TMNT, where it's like they need guidance because they're still kind of lost without a mentor, and then you have to decide if Batman's even remotely up to that, where it's like, usually as a Robin, now he's got 4 in the form of Ninja Turtles. Like, that'd be a take. That's a thing you could do.
That'd be cool, yeah. And then you can do the like alternate version for a sequel where it's, what if like the Turtles found Bruce Wayne when his parents were gunned down and Batman's raised by the Ninja Turtles?
He's raised by the Ninja Turtles? That's awesome. Okay, so here's all these really cool amalgamized covers for both Turtle stuff and Batman stuff.
And just
Batman
DC
and
stuff. Like, that's the first... it's not called Teen Titans then, but that was like the first Teen Titans type cover. There's the Justice League one where it's Starro grabbing the Ninja Turtles and Batman.
That Turtles cover with the Mouser robot is the 2nd or 3rd issue, and they put Batman in the reflection. That's really cool. That's Dark Knight Returns.
There's the Star...
You're right, there's the Starro one. Yeah, it's really neat. And like I said earlier, because I've seen a lot of these kind of like really somehow faithfully made like crossover homage covers, or just homage covers with a different character put in. Like, I've seen a lot of Tick ones where somebody's taken the Tick and like faithfully rendered these old classic covers from other things. And I wonder if I've got that cover, not that cover, but the cover that's homaging, with the Turtles on the TV. And some of these other ones I have too. I didn't point them out, but that's one of my favorite covers. But anyway, I just wonder if they just went online and found a bunch of those and were able to use them, or if they made these from scratch.
They went online and they're like, look, we won't sue you if you let us put these in our movie.
They went, what you did was, in the first place, was technically copyright infringement, so we actually own the thing that you made, just posting it online.
We actually own your soul, so...
Yeah.
There's the Starro one.
Yep. That's neat. I mean, I'd love to have all of these.
No, they're all awesome.
And I can't think of any other of these animated movies that has gone so far as to have something that cool for the end credits. The first 60s Batman animated movie just had like Batman and Catwoman and characters like just like dancing in the margins, and it was fine, but
yeah, it was like the same like 5-second loop.
But yeah, I really like this shot. It's a cool, last image to be left with.
Oh my god.
And kind of, again, a culmination of everything they've done, because they have, like, successfully totally blended these properties. So at the end, like, we really did that. And all the way through, you're wondering if they'll do any, kind of weird mixing of things, and they finally do it right at the end.
Yeah, they turned the main Turtles villain into the main Batman villain.
I mean,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's the kind of just like, kid fan service, like, wow, that's crazy. How did you do the with the action figure of that kind of thing that you would expect in an 80s cartoon.
Mm-hmm. No,
that
absolutely.
Kids would just lose their minds about.
That's like those the toys they did of like the Marvel Transformer things.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Remember those? Yeah. Like the Star Wars one.
Yeah, there's this line out right now that I don't know what it's called, but like they look like Transformers, but they're not. It's like these robot Marvel characters.
Oh, Marvel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only reason I know about it is because my son this year got his backpack too late, and the only thing they had available that he was remotely interested in was a backpack with those things. I think maybe we went some. No, I think he has that. I think we did end up getting them.
Oh, that's great. Should be a GoBot backpack though. Then you can rock up to like other people and be like, "Remember GoBots?"
And then everybody else is like, no, because that's like a million years old, and I'm 11. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you had a good time with us watching Ninja Turtles, or Batman versus Ninja Turtles. I don't know where you are on this, but I feel like that movie, it really does warrant a sequel, and I'm really kind of surprised that one still has not been announced at this point. Like, it's only a couple years old, so I guess it could still happen.
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of those movies I think, like, if they don't, I'm not, like, super upset, just because it's kind of like the perfect crossover between those two franchises. But it'd be cool if they made a sequel.
Well, anyway, leave your comments. Let us know what you think about this movie, and we will see you again real soon with lots more fun stuff here on Geek Fusion. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Yeah, this was our legendary versus match.
Yeah. We didn't get into any... We should have gotten into an argument, like, 10 minutes in, that we just resolved very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, our versus thing was the Harley voice.
Oh, is that what it was?
That was our versus moment.
Man. Riveting.
What a battle.
All right, we'll see you again next time. Bye, folks.
Yeah, see ya.